Hey, so welcome. Today I'm gonna be going over my Echoes of Kyhule development update, and it's been a while. But this way, I've got a lot done, but I want to go back and I'm starting a new series where I create mini games. And this is going to be the first mini games inspired by Metal Gear Solid. That's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to make this game. But a lot of it's going to be stealth based, and right now we're just going to be going over the primary level design. This level that we're going to be talking about is like the first base level. Nothing too really big, just a small little go through. Have a little item here that you can get on the side, which is a chest. And then we have a enemy and a terminal down at the back where we will be able to exfil out after we get the chest. It's going to be really straightforward, nothing too crazy, but we are going to go over the level design and my ideas to why I think the design should be this way. So first what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go to top view here, and as we can see here, this is the live level. And this is how everything is set up. I bordered a lot of the level off. The reason why I bordered a lot of the level off is we don't need that much space for this first mini game. Over time, I can just order things around and open the level up when I need to. This warehouse is purchased off of CG Trader. It's a really good model for this particular stealth game I'm trying to build. So back here, we have the player start. And within this level, it's a straight path. We have a chest here that the player will need to get. And we have an enemy down at the back. He will be moving around in a patrolled path. Today, we're going to be talking more about what that patrol path looks like. And also, this particular enemy called the Wanderer sets traps around the location. Now, the way I'm going to have it set up is that there are going to be some predetermined traps already set up, which will select those locations. But then whenever the Wanderer sees the player, they'll set off traps, not set off traps, but place traps around the character, which will make the character have to be more evasive and get around those traps, or he'll be caught. Right now, the player won't have any guidance, but over time, there'll be a character added in that will help the main character navigate these traps. That'll come at a later time. But let's get to the map. So I'm going to move this one over to keep this as a static image, and then I'm going to open up another screen here. This screen here is an actual image of the map, but I can draw on this particular map so that we can place and plan everything. I'm just going to do this fairly quickly. This is kind of like the first ideation of the map. Just my thought process behind it is how can we navigate everything? As you can see here on the map, I placed the enemy down at the bottom here. So we can ignore that. We know that the enemy is going to be this red circle. So I'll go here and I'll change the colors. And I'll just say that enemy, and we'll make a little notation here. We'll know that enemy is red. We know that the player, we'll go back to the right again. We know that the player is gonna be, we'll make the player blue. We know the player is gonna be blue. We know that the patrol routes are gonna be orange. But first we need to go here. And this is one way that you can do this. This is not like the preferred method of way how you can do this, but I really want to just rough draft everything that I'm doing so that I know what to look for. So patrol route's going to be yellow, and then we're going to set the traps. The traps are going to be green. And we'll go ahead and just put traps here. Okay, so this is just my key code here that lets me know whatever I put down on this map, that's what we're going to be looking at, right? And as we can see, the linear route for the player, which we'll go ahead and put the blue again, right? I'll make sure that it's the same. So we'll pick a blue that's near it. Okay, so we know that the player route is going to be starting from here, and then he has to navigate up and then here, but first he has to pivot out and get the chest. And then we know that the enemy route is going to be a lot different. We know that the enemy route is going to start here, and then he's going to come down. So at any point, we don't want Elias to get caught by the enemy. So we need to figure out how to make it so that Elias can navigate around the enemy. Now, throughout all of this, we know that there are going to be some traps. Also, we know that there are going to be some traps also around this map. So these traps can pretty much be anywhere. These traps could pretty much be anywhere, and Elias will need to avoid these traps. But, you know, the player won't know where the traps are at initially until Slider comes out and tells them, hey, this is the trap. So what I'm probably going to do is introduce a trap right here. So, you know, we'll force the player to look through this particular area. So we'll cover this area up for the most part. I'll pick a different color here. This area will be covered up. We'll force the player to go through this area. And then once the player goes to that area or any of these areas, we can just literally, if I need to, we can make it easy and just go just like that and cover the whole area. So when the player walks to this area, a trap automatically activates. In this position, the player will have to activate a sequence to avoid the trap. And then from doing that, they can navigate up to the next area, which is this chest. So let's go ahead and backstep and take all this off. Let's think a little bit more strategically about this, right? So if we go ahead and set up, the color code for the patrol route, we know that the patrol, he has to come from here to here, and then he has to get down here. So we need some nice patterns that he can follow in this linear line. Maybe not so linear, maybe somewhat linear just to make it more easier, but we'll see. I think the first patrol route is going to be right here. So this is the first place he's going to go. And then the second patrol route is going to be a little bit slanted off to the side. And then the third patrol route is he's going to check the chest. Why not, right? Have him check the chest and make sure everything's good. Then the last patrol route is going to be down here at the bottom. Now, in this moment, we know the player is still down at the bottom. So we know the player is down here. We need to make sure that the player himself can travel up. So now that we know that the patrol routes are here, we can add the traps along the route. We know that the traps are going to be fairly big. So we're going to put one trap there. We're going to put one trap here. This trap is already going to be here as a center. So we may not need to put another trap there. And then we'll put one trap here because we want the player to feel that last anticipation before getting everything. That's that last negative before getting to the terminal. But outside of that, now we know the player has to navigate around. So the player himself has many different routes they can go. We're making a layer here. The player can go this way. It's going to hit the first trap. And then after that, the player can go anywhere around this location depending on how fast the enemy is traveling between these patrol routes. We might do 5 seconds per route, maybe 10 seconds for the actual treasure chest to make sure that the player just doesn't run to the treasure chest. And then, as we can see here, once the enemy runs to the treasure chest, he'll have to come back down this route. There's no place for Elias to really hide. So in order for this to work out, Elias has to utilize what's called the cloak method. Elias will be able to utilize in order to navigate the map in short successions without getting caught. It doesn't stop Elias from the traps, but it does stop Elias from getting caught from the Wanderer. So this will allow Elias to navigate around the map a lot easier while navigating the traps. And that's as simple as I want to go. If we look at the game itself, we can see that in the game it's the same thing. If we actually look at the game, we can see here that for the most part, we can walk in. This will be blocked off, and then we can go down the map, and that's the treasure chest there. We haven't even seen the enemy yet. The enemy hasn't come out yet. And the reason why the enemy hasn't come out yet is because I set the timer for 35 seconds for other reasons. But we're going to reduce that time. So when we look back at the map again, we know that the enemy is back here because that's the enemy's starting point. This is the start point for the enemy, but this enemy is going to pop out. And then we're going to make sure that by the time Elias is finished with this trap down at the bottom, that the enemy is already going to be at this point. So there's no way that Elias is going to be able to go from where he's at to here after getting hit with that first trap to get the enemy. But maybe he can, depending on how the players use Elias's abilities. But that's the level design for this first mini game. and I'm gonna make some GIFs of this, just kind of breaking down the levels, making sure people see the player codes, and yep, that's the first part.